What's up, dudes? Dammerung is a mythic Dark Ages fantasy game. I played Adelaus Diogen of Godamar, the peasant knight of the Crownlands.
We came into town, the Crownlanders, 11 of us out of 500, so we need to go meet this queen. This guy walks in, he's like, hey, there's the king of the Jotun outside, and he wants to see the queen, and he's just talking to the queen, and then somebody attacks him. Great, we're just kind of talking about it, and this Jarl is like looking at me funny. And then she chokes me.
And she had her cronies, like, fight me.
Hey, there's some people on our porch, you should meet them. And I look out the window, and it's 2 Jotuns. Lord Steiner was chatting them up, and I was like, why are we dealing with these Jotuns in such a friendly way? And if the queen knows we're dealing with the Jotun, that's not gonna end well for us. Anyway, that's the plot for yesterday. Today we have a Juvite mass. Okay guys, I got some things to tell you since last time started. So long story short, we got word that there was like a grail or something that's important to the Crownlanders, and it was like buried close to here. So we were like, okay, great, we're gonna go get the grail. It's gonna be awesome. And then we went and looked for it, and we didn't find it. But we got out there, and we disguised ourselves as like looking for herbs for the priest's ritual that day. And so we got there, and we're looking for herbs, right? And then the sea wolves come behind us. Remember Jarl Civ, who I mouthed off to? Yeah, that Jarl Civ. She came up to us, she was like, oh, what you doing? And we're like, oh, we're hunting herbs. Show me these herbs. And we showed her the herbs, and she was like, oh, great, give us all you got. And she and her dudes put swords at our throats, and a guy hit me in the chin with an axe. Not a real axe, this is makeup, but yeah. And then, so they robbed us. They took our medical supplies, and we were just like, ooh.
So after we were robbed, big thing that I left out is that we went to warn the Kerns that there were sea wolves there, and that they should probably be on their guard. And they were doing this sort of ritual at what they call the Pool of the Three. And they had tombstones up, and it was really cool. But one of the things that happened during the ceremony was that Jotnar came down from the mountains. And I was just standing there with this guy Bodin on the wall, feeling like a badass, just looking at him. And then they came down and they were like, hey, this is our holy site, you have to get out. And so the Osttaler for the Kern, Turlock, he comes over and he's like, no, we're not getting out of here. This is our holy spot. What are you talking about? You don't know what you're talking about. And the Jotunar's like, I'll fight you for it. And the Kern's like, okay, we'll fight you for it. And I'm just here like, the Crownlanders will stand with the Kern. And so we fought. And we got roundly stomped. But we defended what was ours, and it was okay. There's actually this really cool picture of the king of the Jotuns taking a swing at me. You can see my red tunic just barely poking out there. But yes, it was truly a fight for the ages.
And we went back and we talked to the queen about it, and we talked to the Jarl's wife about it, and the Jarl's wife was mad. Ooh, she was mad. She hates the sea wolves. And then Jarl Civ walks in, and Lord Steiner, who is like one of the head dudes in the Crownlanders, he's got like a house or whatever, and he immediately stands up and says, Jarl Civ, I would have words with you. And they talk about how she raised a hand to his Crownlanders, and she was like, oh, you know, accidents happen all the time. You know, we just met you on the road. Maybe you just lost your stuff. Like the queen and the Jarl's wife and Lord Steiner were all confronting her, and then she was like, but we didn't draw blood. And the Jarl's wife's face, what did you just say to me? She's like, come here. And so I got up and I showed her my cut. She was like, oh, accidents happen all the time. And oh, I'm gonna punch her someday. But then after that, they said that we're having a tournament, right? And anybody can challenge anybody. So I was like, Jarl Civ, I challenge you to a duel. And she was like, nah, I'll let my men do the fighting for me. And I'm like, could it be that you're afraid? She's like, and the queen and the Jarl's wife were all just be like, you won't do it. Come on, you're just scared of me. And she was like, I'll do it at the behest of my queen, not because of your words. And so I'm gonna fight the Jarl of the Sea Wolves, and I might die. Yeah, this should be good.
So Father Eberman led us in this Juvite mass. It was one of those other things that really added to the lore of the world that you're playing in. How it started was he led us in a prayer, and then he had us all stand up if we had anything to confess, because Juvites believe that the only way to truly absolve yourself of sin is to bring them to the light of Jude, which means to confess publicly. Yeah, I had some things to confess. The one thing I didn't confess was the sort of lie of omission, where I didn't exactly tell Father Eberman that I had not apologized to Jarl Civ. Oops. So a fun thing that happened right before the tournament that was supposed to be a big public event, but it not a lot of people witnessed it, was that, so we have this queen, right? But we also have a king. Well, we had a king because he was killed by his half-troll bastard son when he came back demanding the throne. Oops. We get to the tournament, and I'm standing up there with Lord Steiner and the rest of the Crownlanders. I've got my shield ready, I'm wearing my tabard, I've got my sword on my side. The queen gets up there, and she's like, okay, we're gonna have a tournament, we're gonna try and push aside the fact that the king died because that's traumatic, but right now, we're gonna focus on this tournament. So, does anybody have any challenges? I know of at least one, and then Steiner steps forward, and he's like, on behalf of the Crownlands, I would like to present the Peasant Knight. And so I step forward, I draw my sword, and I point it at Jarl Civ. And she just, all right, here we go. So we're just circling each other with our swords and our shields. And eventually we both get a hit in on each other. I get a slice in the neck, she gets a slice in the calf. And I'm like, is it over? Is it over? She looks over and she's like, do you not see the slice on her neck? And the queen looks over and she's like, do you not see the slice on your leg? She was like, it's meant to be to first blood. And I'm like, why stop there? So we keep going. We both get other hits on each other. And then I finally got a hit in all by myself. And I beat Jarl Civ in an honor duel.
Okay, so quick update. I beat Jarl Civ in the battle, and I got a fancy nice new neck wound to prove it. We went to pick up a caravan of food that was left for us. We got bags of food for the people. This light is blinding me. I need to keep behind me, otherwise I'm gonna walk into this lake. We went there, and then we got some more information about this grail, and we think we might have a better idea where it is now. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going on a little Indiana Jones style adventure to find this grail. Wish me luck. So I'm aware that the lighting is not stellar, but the clues I was given were by the lake, under the tree, near the spring. Oh, there was one more thing. Near the lake, by the wall, under the tree, near the spring. Well, there's the lake, here's the wall, there's the tree, and there's the spring. I did it, y'all, and now I gotta dig for this grail chalice type thing. Here goes nothing. I'm just gonna root around in the water with a stick, and if that doesn't work, I'm gonna go hands in. Wish me luck. So earlier, the Kerns were here doing a ritual at this, they call it the Pool of the Three, which is like their gods or whatever. You can't see it, but there's tombstones all over in that general direction. And now I'm gonna dig through this water to find a thing. Let's go. Holy mackerel, that water is cold, but I got it. I got the grail. My hand is all muddy. You can't even see, but my hand is all muddy and it's cold and it's probably below freezing at this point. I don't care. I got the grail. Now to sneak into town without anybody knowing it. So this is going in the bag with my, no, my camera can go in my pocket and this can go in my pouch. I got the grail.
So yeah, I got the grail. And then I spent the first part of the night as a guard for it and all of our other things that we didn't want stolen. And two separate groups of people came in wanting to murder me and steal all of our things. And I didn't even know about it at the time. The first one was a duo of Nordvik, real shifty looking with a tall staff and a pointy hat. Don't think I don't know, it wasn't you, my friends. Anyway, they came in and they had the complete intention of killing me and stealing our stuff. But the guy in the pointy hat stepped on the traps that we had outside of the door, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you okay? Here, let me help you, let me help you. And the girl was just like, we can't rob her after she helped us like that. Creepy thing though, the dude healed up by sucking the girl's blood. My Crownlander senses are tingling. That's not natural. This is not of Juve. Also, I have to apologize right now to Karlhold, which is like the one faction of Nordvik that actually like us. I have to apologize to Karlhold for making you step on our traps. I'm sorry I didn't warn you in time. Yeah. I spent the second part of the night also as a guard for the Grail and other things that we did not want people to steal, except this time, people actually had a place to go. They all went to the funeral of the king, but a bunch of them came back early. The father steps in the door, I'm like, hey, what's up? What's going on? He says, there's a rumor that we're going to be attacked tonight. We have to be ready. And I was like, oh, really? Where's everybody else? He was like, the Steiners are all staying at the funeral for some reason. And I'm like, okay, but what if we get attacked? And so we were all ready with the few swords, shields, and bows that we had, and we were just on edge the entire night. Eventually Steiner came back, and then we felt a little bit better, but we were all still on edge because we were all dog-tired and still thinking that we were going to be attacked. Actually, great story about that. There was a point where Father Eppermont had gone to sleep and the rest of us were awake, and we thought that we heard footsteps on our porch or Jarl Civ laughing or something like that, but we were all like, hung up. Did you hear that? They're coming. And so we all like jumped up and we grabbed our shields and we grabbed our sword, and I went to wake the father. I shook him and I was like, Father, they're coming. And he just turns over and goes right back to bed. So at one point during the night, I'm pretty sure it was after that whole big scare thing, but Hartfin, who is one of these nobles for House Steiner, he was like, hey, would you like to go on a walk with me? And I'm like, okay, sure, we're just going on patrol or whatever. And so he takes me out and we start walking down towards this lake. He starts talking to me about how hard it is to be a noble. Now keep in mind, my character grew up as a peasant and really doesn't enjoy any higher status from being a knight than she did. So this guy's coming up to me like, oh, it's so hard to be a noble. And I'm like, how is that? He says it's because you have so much more money, but you can't spend it because everybody's always gifting you the things you need or want. And I'm just here like, okay. We actually went to the funeral pyre from earlier, and one moment that I will never forget is Hartfin is standing in front of it. He goes, Juve rest his soul. He does the little triangle thing. He turns to me and he goes, how did he die? And I say he was killed by his half-troll bastard son. He looked at me and he said, he screwed a troll? Juve damn him. And I was like, hold up, you were just willing to say like Juve rest his soul earlier. And he was like, there's no room in the afterlife for people who betray their race or something like that. He's like talking about how all of these other cultures are lesser because they're not as civilized or they're not Juvite or whatever. And that is the moment I realized that Hartvin is a purist and also a jerk. It's gonna be some good roleplay in the future though. Not everybody can always be lovey-dovey with each other. I'm cool with that as long as it's all on an in-game basis because Jotnar and Crawling, we all love you out of game. So after that, we all decided we couldn't keep our eyes open anymore and we all went to bed. And after we all went to bed, we got broken into a third time, but nothing was stolen. It was the same guy with the pointy hat and the chick with the big staff who let him drink her blood. I'm glad you didn't find anything. It was a really crappy hiding place that we had, but you know what? Maybe you were paranoid or whatever. I don't know. So the next morning comes. We're all getting kitted up. We're like, oh, it's gonna be a morning. The queen's gonna give out land today. It's gonna be great. And we hear that Sir Trier is gonna have an honor duel with one of the sea wolves. And we're like, oh, great. He's gonna fight for our honor and things of this nature. So our cabin is sort of, if you look out to the right, you can see sort of the field that we had used for the tournaments, right? So you could look out and see that Trier was fighting a sea wolf, and it was great. But I looked out that window and I saw that the rest of the sea wolves had come out of the woodwork and were now beating down Sir Trier in an ambush on his honor duel. So I yelled to the rest of them, Sir Trier is down! My left greave is half on. It's not even buckled all the way, but I'm bolting out the door to get this bread, I guess. Did I just meme in the middle of this? You bet I did. But we're all running out of the door to protect Trier, and like, we all get up there with the sea wolves, and then part of the bannermen come and try and fight against us with the sea wolves, and we all get roundly stomped again. And there was this really cool moment that really solidified the intensity for me, was there were three of us down in a line. It went the father, Sir Trier, and me. And so I saw that the father was down, and I'm like, oh, he's our only Healy boy. I better get over and make sure he's okay. So I'm like crawling over there. I'm crawling over there. And I'm trying to make sure he's okay, and then I finally just realized that I cannot move anymore. And this older chick comes up to me, stares me in the face, and she says, do I see any teeth loose? And I was like, no. But this guy comes up afterwards, goes up to Trier, and bashes him in the mouth with the pommel of his sword, and then like takes a tooth out. And I was like, you gotta stop it, man. I yelled at him to stop it. He looks at me and he goes, mark my words, you're next. And I was like, Okay, so he bashed me in the face with the pommel of his sword and took a tooth out. And then that old woman comes back and she just says to me, do I see any tooth loose now? And I was like, yes. Yes, you do. And so 2 of Adelaus's teeth are now missing. And I've been told by the people who took them that I'm not cursed, but it's a thing in Juvenism that whenever you lose like parts of yourself, like hair clippings or toenails or anything like that, you're supposed to burn it so that people can't give it to sorcerers to expel you, and my teeth have not been burned, so help. And then after that, this guy comes up to me. This guy who I've been sort of fighting with, and who it turns out is actually the guy that I quote unquote defeated at the battle in the castle where I got my knighthood. He comes up to me and I'm just sitting there kind of gasping for air. I just snarkily say, morning, you know, like you do when you're a little sass ball like me. And he comes up to me and he's just staring at me with this sort of cold look. He knows I'm down, I'm severely wounded, and he just kicks me right in the side. And it was a really intense moment for me that really like brought out the hostility of the moment, and I'm not sure if anybody else saw it, but if you did, I really hope that that was a sort of a enhancer for you, because it was sure an enhancer for me. And then the sweetest little Kern bean came and healed me. Oh my goodness, Isolde is my favorite person. I love Isolde. She's so cute, and I can't wait to play with her again in March because she's just baby Kern! So at the end of the fight, Trier is still down. The rest of us have been picked up, but we're all desperately trying to heal him because apparently he got into another scuffle. Trier. Anyway, we're all huddled around him trying to heal him, and all of a sudden, he disappears in a puff of crow feathers, and we're like, what the friggity floop is going on? And so, we all turn to the crawling that has been staying in our cabin, Roka, and she says that she's just saved him. She's transported him to another plane, and it's okay. And the father took this as you have used your black magics on him. His immortal soul must now be damned. And so he pulls out a knife to stab her, and we actually have a Renaissance style looking painting of this moment where Steiner is like taking the priest down after stabbing Roka, and it's the best picture to come out of Dammerung. And also you can see that my greave was not fully on because it's flying off in the corner there. So anyway, we're calming the father down, and all of a sudden Trier appears out of the woods behind us. He's like, what just happened? And so we're like, oh my lord, are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine, I just feel weird and also a little dirty because black magic. And so we did a lot of prayer, we did a lot of checking on him. It was a time, I'll tell you that, it was a time. And then after that, after we got all healed up and everything, Steiner was like, hey, so look, we have a non-aggression pact with the Kerns, right? Because of the fight with the Jotnar, and you know, we've always been willing to help each other out. So we have this non-aggression pact. I would like to see if we can upgrade it to a full alliance. And so we're all like, great, so there are 5 of us that go down to the Kern sort of common area, I guess. And we were like, hey, so we'd like to speak with Turlock. And so we go and we do that, and like the non-aggression pact is gonna stay a non-aggression pact for now, but hopefully, like, we're gonna try and show them that we are worthy allies even after things like Colgadel, which is a place that the Crownlanders took from the Kerns and we're now holding it and everything. We want to show them that we're not like that. And yeah, if the Crownlanders are doing what I think they're doing, then we're gonna Game of Thrones our way into whatever alliances we want. So somebody might be getting hitched to a Kern at some point to solidify the alliance. And after this, we all gather in the mead hall for the queen to hand out land. And Jarl Civ walks in plastered. It was really funny. She was like constantly, and whatever she said to the queen, like the word land was thrown in there. The land that you're going to give us. What would we do with all of this land that we will get? And at some point, they were talking about how good they would do if they got some farmland, and somebody just yells, farm wolves! And then the rest of them just yell, farm wolves! And then, I don't know, it was funny at the time, and it's still funny now. But yeah, everybody got land, maybe not in ideal spots. I heard that the sea wolves were like away from the water, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen a map of anything yet, and my memory is Swiss cheese, so I couldn't tell you where exactly the land is. But Donan, the Kern that I made friends with, he started negotiating with the Queen to get farmland that bordered the Crownlanders' farmland so that we could like help protect each other and everything. And I think that was really cool. Like, Donan, my man, like you're my man. Oh, and I'm sorry, one more thing. Farm wolves! And then the game ended and we all had to go home and it was sad, but it's okay because the next game is in March and we get to see each other again and keep playing out this ridiculous fantasy that we all have. So the next game is March 22nd through 24th in Dingman's Ferry, Pennsylvania at Camp Spears YMCA. We hope to see you there because it's epic. I'll tell you right now, it is epic. Again, thank you so much to all of the staff that was there. Thank you so much to the players that made it great. Honestly, everybody that was there made the game so special in their own way, and it was just great to see all of you come together and build this story with us. I had such a great time, and I hope you did too. I can't wait for March. Anyway, yeah, that's all I got. This is Mochi saying that I have no snappy slogan for the end of this video. Adios, my bros.
Say hi, everybody.
Hello.
Did y'all have fun?
Yeah!
That's what I thought. How much fun did you have?
So much.
Hey Vince, how much fun did you have?
So much.
Hey Kieran, how much fun did you have?
So much.
That is so